Right. So hello, everyone. Welcome to our session. Well, I think I'll leave Dr. Marcus Jackson to let you all know what almost happened there just now, but it's all good. So
It's all
welcome.
good.
We are
Yes.
very excited to have all of you. And, when I reached out to Dr. Marcus Jackson and he said, yes, I was really, really happy because just reading about him and looking at all the work he has done in schools as a teacher, as a principal, as a educator in general, it really is very inspiring. And I think, during this particular period, we need all the inspiration we can get. So without further ado, I'm going to hand over to Dr. Marcus Jackson, and y'all can feel free to send your questions in the chat or your comments. And I'm sure at the end, Dr. Marcus Jackson will also avail himself to more questions. So,
Yes.
floor
Ms.
is
Leanne,
yours.
thank you for the invite. And I must start off by telling the group what happened. She and I have been communicating, and we was locked in on the 4 o'clock time. And she was real adamant about Dr. Jackson. It's 4 o'clock your time, 4 o'clock. I was like, I heard you. I got the email. Well, she just sent me a direct message saying we'll be on in 3 minutes. And I'm like, no, it's only 3 o'clock here. So she was under the impression that I was on Eastern Standard Time, when in actuality I'm on Central Standard Time, which is an hour behind. So we're actually 2 hours behind you guys. I'm not going to keep you on long at all. I just want to share some information with you. Since March 13th, when the world shut down, our educational system has been in a frenzy, actually chaotic. We're scrambling around. And matter of fact, here in Lake Charles, Louisiana, where I'm currently at, we're actually just starting because we were devastated by Hurricane Laura. And right after Hurricane Laura, we were hit with Hurricane Delta. So we're talking about internet services and things of that nature is just getting back up, but we're rolling. And as a leader, everybody is depending on us. And I'm going to share some stuff with you guys, and maybe you can take with you if you're a leader at a school or you're or a leader in the classroom. Some of these things that I'm going to share with you can be very, very beneficial. Can everyone see the screen? Could you give me a thumbs up, or you can see it in the chat?
Yes.
All right, thumbs up. All right, we're going to go ahead and get started. This picture pretty much describes where we are right now in education, all over the place. I actually just got off a meeting. Currently, right now, the administration is fighting with the board. We're about 3 weeks, we're a couple weeks out from Christmas, and now they're trying to take vacation days from teachers. The state is not giving us any type of leadway. They're expecting us to still get 63,000 minutes in during the school year when we missed the first 9 weeks of school. So it's crazy for everybody. So what I'm going to do is discuss some strategies and some things with you that's going to be a little different. And hopefully you'll be able to take away a few things. We're going to go ahead and get started. My objectives for you is a couple of things. Number one, hopefully you're taking notes in some capacity. I want you to leave away with 3 big rocks. Walk away with 3 rocks, some of the things that you can use, whether you're in the classroom, at the district level, or you're a leader at the school level. You should be able to walk away with 3 things. I want you to think differently about school leadership. And I want you to be inspired about your leadership journey. I want to sort of ignite a flame within you. So make sure you take notes. It is very, very important. No matter what in-service you're actually doing or professional development, whether it's a TED Talk or anything, you should be able to walk away with 3 things. Before we begin, let me tell you a little bit about myself. I've been in this field for about 20 years. I've pretty much done it all. I'm one of those guys where if your school is doing really, really bad, they bring me in to fix it. And I've been able to do that at the elementary, the middle, and the high school level at some of the most poverty-stricken schools in the country. Currently, right now, I'm serving as the Assistant Superintendent and Director of Curriculum Instruction. My duties and my responsibility is to turn around the low-performing schools in my school district. Fortunately for me, which is a huge plus, I'm from Lake Charles, Louisiana. This is my hometown, and many of those schools are in the areas that I grew up in. So that's a plus for me. Enough of that, let's get into the presentation. Miss Leanne, I need to know what type of, who's in the audience and what type of crowd that we have. So real quickly in the chat session, could you simply type your position? What is your position? What is your position? What is your position? And Leanne, I'm not going to go into, there we go. What is your position? Head of department, we got acting principals, we got some teachers. Okay, cool. We got a nice mixture. Vice principals, curriculum officer, head of department. We got a nice group. Right. Perfect. Nice group. Wanted to know what I'm talking about. Now I need to know you all a little more. So we have 3 shapes. I need you to pick a shape. I need you to pick a shape. Don't tell anybody. Don't write it in the chat box, but just simply pick a shape and hold on to that shape in your mind. Let's see. All right. Those of you who chose the square, type square in your box, in your chat box. How many do we have, Miss Leanne? 2 squares, okay. Got a few squares, okay. According to the study at Yale University, if you selected the triangle, you're strong, you're caring, and you're destined for greatness. Y'all please give them individuals a round of applause. All righty. And if you chose the triangle, according to the study at Yale University, if you selected the triangle, you're caring and you're destined for greatness. Y'all give those individuals a round of applause. And finally, if you chose the circle, type circle. If you chose circle, type circle in the box, please. All right, we had a bunch of people chose circle. Let's see what kind of circles we have in here. According to the study at Yale University, if you selected if you selected circle, you spend the majority of your day thinking about sex and drinking alcohol. Uh-oh, circles. Poor circles. Shame on you. Now you can't trade in your shape. You can't trade in your shape. You cannot trade in your shape. Now, this is not a true study. This is just a funny. You can't take it back. It's too late to take your shape back. It's too late. Now, this is not. I actually did this at a university, and we had 2 nuns that were in the crowd. And after the presentation, they came to me. They were red. They were very upset. They were very agitated. And I said, ma'am, calm down. This is not a real study. This is just an icebreaker, and it's funny. And I'm glad you was able to laugh. I saw that everybody laughed, and that's extremely important, especially in these times right now, in this field of education, especially right now. This job can literally kill you. And now on top of all we're going through with COVID, think of where I am right now, where teachers have lost their homes, where principals have lost their homes, where students have lost their homes. We got kids living in tents. We got kids living in homes where the tree is still on one side of their home and the other 2 rooms, they're living in the other 2 rooms. So you have to laugh. That is so important. You should do that at least 14 times a day. Leading during disorder in the pandemic. I'm going to walk you through some of the strategies that have worked for me, that have currently we've done once we return from the hurricane. And this is going to be totally different, and it's centered directly around the social emotional learning and health and mental wellness of the employees that I actually deal with. First of all, you must know your ABCs. I think in education, we have it wrong. The first thing we want to do is to go strictly to the cognitive domain. We want to analyze the data. We want to look at test scores. We want to look at the domains that our students are actually weak in. And we have forgotten that we are dealing with people. We have become a profession that is full of points and percentages. And in my work and the things that I've actually done to be so successful is I've always operated from the affective domain first. Every staff meeting we have, I'm actually doing something to educate our staff on their mental wellness. And if you do not have a strong social emotional learning program in place at your school for your teachers, for your principals, and for your students, you will never reach your optimal level. So know your ABCs. That is so important. I wrote this the other day when a student told me they love me. A teacher actually said they love me, and one of my principals said, "Dr. Jackson, you're doing a great job. I love you." And once I received that, I was just at home one day and I said, "Oh, love is the most important ingredient in a school reaching its optimal level. The principal must genuinely love the community they're serving, the teachers and the staff they're leading, and the students they're cultivating. Additionally, the teacher must love their administrator, the teachers they're uniting with, the students they're teaching, and the parents they're collaborating with. Finally, the students must love their school, their principal, their teachers and staff, and their peers. When love is evident in a school, the possibilities are enormous." And I'm asking you, do your students love their school? Principals, do your teachers love their school? If you're at the district office level, district office representatives, do your principals love the school that they're in? And then do you love the position that you're in? Love must be evident. When we returned in September, of course, this was actually right after the hurricane, which hit in August. A few of our schools opened. And as you can see, social emotional learning for adults were in full swing. I shared many resources with principals in regards to how they can take care of their staff. That was my first line of business when we actually met. I didn't want to look at no data. As a matter of fact, we didn't take any state assessments in the spring, so this is right up my alley. This is another one of my schools. As you can see, this is a must for teachers to have as we come back, and I'm gonna share some of the activities we actually did. We started off by having an in-depth discussion on how to deal with grief. Me personally, I have lost 14 friends, family members, or colleagues since March. I have been the pallbearer at 8 funerals. That's tough. And we got several of our principals and teachers and even our students have been through the same thing. This is an example of a middle school lesson. If you Google Second Step program, this is an excellent program where lessons are actually designed and curriculums are actually designed for teachers to do with their students. But what we did, we flipped it and we did it with our staff. And this is one of the activities we actually did, where we actually went in with our teachers and had an in-depth discussion on just what's going on. How do you feel? What's going on with you right now? And we're going to share this information. And it got pretty emotional, and that's okay. We also went in with our feelings, with our identifying our feelings with our students. We also did this with our principals, did this with our teachers. But before our principals did this with the teachers, I did this with them. One of the things we actually did, we created a self-care checklist. Everybody in this school actually had one of these. And every day we go in and we do our personal self-care checklist. Additionally, what we also do is actually have an accountability partner. Each one of my principals have an accountability partner, and they check in with each other every single day for their managing their stress at work checklist. And of course, our teachers at all of our schools do the same. In addition to that, one of the activities we did, we wrote on this particular letter, you write all the things that we talked about during the meeting that's going to better your mental wellness. And what are you going to do to love yourself this school year? You write that information down. Your accountability partner takes a picture of it on their phone, and they're going to hold you accountable for what you're writing that you're going to commit to, and how you're going to love yourself. Some of the things that come out of this meeting, I'm going to eat better. I'm going to drink more water. I'm going to exercise more. I'm going to meditate in the morning. I'm going to spend less time on social media. These were some of the things that came out of this meeting. Very, very powerful. In addition to that, what I did with my principals, I took their commitment letter. They had a self-addressed stamped envelope, and I'm going to mail this to them in February. So in February, they're going to get a letter from themselves, and sort of that will reveal to them that what their particular letter, that they're making sure that they're addressing those things on their letter. It's pretty cool to get that in the letter. And this is the granddad of them all for me. And I have this picture up here because everybody in your nickel, a dime, or penny to contribute to the quarter of success of your school. I just recently wrote a book, which is entitled 10 Daily Essentials for Principals. I'm going to show it on the screen, but what I'm going to share with you today is something out of that book, which I think has been paramount in me turning around my low-performing schools, the low-performing schools where I so happen to be the leader at. And this is my philosophy. Everybody in the building is a contributory factor in the quarter of success. What is your organizational framework? And that's exactly what I'm speaking of. If you ask any teacher or of any principal that I'm leading or have led, this will be the first thing that they actually mention when it comes to me. And remember, I talked about the effective domain. There are a variety, there are a plethora of different activities that you can do to motivate and inspire your teachers, but there's nothing more that you can do than value their input, and for them to be a part of the process. So this is an organizational framework I designed, which is entitled COLA C. On every school I'm in, every single person in the building is on a team. You don't have an option on whether you want to be on a team or not. You are on a team. We have a curriculum team, and your skill set determines whether you're on this team or not. You have an option to go on a curriculum team, an operation and logistics team, achievement team, and the culture and climate team. Before we actually move on, since I gave you those 4 teams, type in the chat box which one of these 4 you think is the most important in order for your school to reach their optimal level. Curriculum team, operational and logistics, achievement, or culture and climate team. Please write it in the chat box now. I see just about everybody wrote culture and climate, and you are correct. You have to operate from that effective domain first. And there's a saying that actually states that culture eats strategy for breakfast. But I'm here to tell you that culture eats strategy for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. You don't have a chance, no matter how smart you are, no matter how intelligent you are, if you don't have a positive culture and climate at your school, you're going to have some problems. Now, let's delve in and actually look at some of the duties and responsibilities for each one of these areas. For the curriculum team, the duties and responsibilities, the lesson plans, what are the learning targets, monitoring collaborative planning, the teacher knowledge of the content and the standards. The curriculum team is a part of all of this. Let me explain to you how I'll set this up. Every grade level needs to have a representative on each one of these teams to speak on their behalf. Let me state that again. Each representative on each grade level must have a representative to represent their grade level on each one of these teams. Now, if you only have 2 individuals on that particular grade level, then that individual, then they split them up in 2. Also, if you only have 1 person, usually what I would do at that particular time was send one of my master teachers or my instructional coaches or my assistant principal to work with that person on duties. Now that we're in e-learning, now virtual planning meetings, all of these things will be added to this now that we're in a virtual format. Doing the operation and logistics, the school-wide discipline plan, digital citizenship, which is one thing we didn't do at all when this pandemic hit in March 13th. Our students have been begging us to work digital with them for a long time, but instead of actually evolving, what we did was put policies and procedures in place to punish them for bringing cell phones to school, etc. And the operation and logistics team is extremely important. They do the calendar, the attendance. Now, someone in your school, who is the most important person in your school as it relates to the operation and logistics team? Could you type that in your chat box for me, please? Who do you think is the most important person in your school as it relates to the operation and logistics team? I see the principal, vice principal. Several agree with the principal. Gotcha. Vice principal. Now, you all have to educate me a little bit about your school system in your country. Do you all have custodians at your school, janitors at your school?
Yes, we do.
You do. Matter of fact, to be honest with you, that is the most important. That is the most important person on your school, and this is the team that our custodian was on. Now, if you're at the middle school, at the high school level, where those hormones are just crazy and out of control, your custodian knows everything that goes on in your school from an operation and logistics standpoint. Your custodian could tell you which time of day your students are going to have most issues with. They're going to know what's going on in the restrooms, when, and how, and what. So our custodians was a part of this team, and they done some phenomenal things. And let me share a story with you in regards to the operation and logistics team. When I was in Atlanta, out of the blue, a thunderstorm hit. And we had a tornado, an F3 tornado. We're talking about winds close to 100 miles, which is a couple blocks from my school. So automatically the sirens went off and we went on lockdown. Now, I was the principal, so I was working on the curriculum and the culture and climate team. I literally had no idea what the operation and logistics team was doing. I had an overview, and of course, as a principal, you have to have knowledge of all of these, and you need to be a master of 2, but knowledgeable of them all. But unbeknownst to me, I did not know of the complexity and how detailed the tornado plan was. So the tornado hit, and the assistant principal and one of the PE coaches and the custodian communicated to me, Dr. Jackson, you need to go. They directed me to the front office and they told me to get under the table. By this time, all the students and everybody, all of this happened in about 3 minutes. Everybody was in the hallway in the shelter position, and underneath the desk was a laptop, the phone, my charged cell phone, and a bottle of water. And immediately they left. So I'm in the office. You can hear the tornado coming close to us, parents banging on the door trying to get their kids. But they had set up a system so that I can receive all the calls from the parents to let them know we're not allowed to let anybody in the school. All the students are safe. The operation and logistics team put that in place. So that's an example on how you have to have, as a principal, you have to have a series of systems in place at your school. And this COLA H framework works very, very well. The next is the achievement team. Now we're getting into the nuts and bolts of school, the learning, the student growth, the response to interventions, the progress monitoring. How is our graduation rate? What type of course credit recovery programs we have in place? I have a team for that. And finally, that culture and climate team. Teachers' morale, students' morale, cultural competency training, instilling culturally relevant lessons, improving the relationships between the student and teachers, improving relationships among the staff, birthday celebration. What are we going to do when someone dies? You have to literally be prepared for that, because if you're not prepared for that, remember I talked about the affective domain, it can really kill your school. Now, a quick question to you guys. I've walked through all 4 of these with you. Type in the chat box, and based off of your strength and skill set, which one of these teams do you think you will be on? Which team would you be on? The curriculum team, the achievement team, the operations team, or the culture and climate team? Where is your strength? Operations, we got a mixture, got a curriculum, operations, culture and climate, and curriculum. Okay, got you. Dave threw his 2 out there. Great point, Dave. Remember I said you have to master 2. You have, I asked you for 1. But he went a step above and gave me the 2 that he's master of. Remember I said you have, it's very important to master 2 and be knowledgeable of them all. Now, my next question to you is, and be honest with yourself, are you actually using your talent, that talent that you're so good at, to uplift your school at your maximal level? Are you utilizing that talent at a maximal level? Ask yourself that and be honest, and type it in the chat box, yes or no. Thank you for being honest. See a few yeses. I see some no's. I see some I used to's. Yes. See a couple no's. Very honest, very honest, very honest. We have about half and half. I put a challenge out there to you. Maximize that. Our students' future is actually depending on you. Your school is depending on you. Your school district is depending on you. You have to find some way, somehow, to utilize your God-given talent to reach at a maximal level. Couple things, we're gonna move forward. Any questions? as we move forward, Leanne, do we have any questions about the teams? Real quickly. Matter of fact, hold your questions. Hold your questions till the end. Hold on to your questions. Principals, I want you to pay very, very close attention to where I'm going right now. If you're a principal or vice principal at the school, you have to walk the walk that you taught. I was very, very successful as an elementary principal, but then I moved to the middle school to turn around a low performing middle school, and I realized I had some of my sixth graders there. And I realized they were not ready for sixth grade. They couldn't read. They still had literacy issues. That was my fault. I was at that school for 2 years, that fourth and fifth grade year, and I wasn't monitoring to ensure that everybody was ready for the next level. Then they moved me to the high school, to turn around the high school. And I noticed I was sending kids to high school that wasn't ready. And I had them in elementary school. Therefore, when I went back and they shut the high school down, I was able to turn it around, but due to our low numbers of students, they consolidated schools, and they asked me to go turn around the third lowest performing school in the state of Georgia, and to turn around the lowest performing school in the school district. When I went back, I knew that literacy was the big issue. So I'm a huge fan of literacy and ensuring that all our kids can read. I didn't do that my first round as an elementary principal. So when I went back, I said, I'm going to be that example. And what I'm showing you now is my principal's office. This is my principal's office. Every day for 3 45-minute sessions, I shut everything down and I go teach a group of students. You are the instructional leader at your school, and it is imperative that you make your instructional presence felt. The first thing I had to do was to go get my reading endorsement. Our teachers, neither did I, know how to effectively teach students how to read. Our current educational system does not provide that, and it starts at the university level. You only take one course of reading in college, and that's reading foundations, and that's it. And you can become an elementary teacher where you're supposed to teach kids how to read, but you will never train. So one of the things I did when I went back was I secured some funding, and we became the only school in the United States of America where the entire staff had their reading endorsement. Now, to get your reading endorsement, you had to go to class every Thursday from 4 p.m. till 9 p.m. at night. I was able to persuade my entire staff to do that with me. Now, I signed up first. And guess what my staff did? They signed up as well. Now, we had a daycare set up. We had hired babysitters. We had it all set up nice, and we became the only school in the United States. I think this was my second cohort right here, but all the teachers you see in green, the art teacher, the music teacher, the PE teacher, everybody knew how to teach a child to read. This is some examples of some of the classrooms I'm in. How do you think a parent feels if she walks up in the school to see the principal and the principal is teaching a group of students? How do you think my teachers felt when I went to them and I said, hey, give me your group of students, your lowest performing students, bring them to my office at 1 o'clock, and I'm going to teach them reading. And can you see, I got every single student in that class attention, and nothing was going to keep me out of teaching my students. Do you see those 4 Bs? I told my secretary that every 45 minutes to teach a class, and there are only 4 Bs that can disturb me from doing that. The first one, if the boss come to the school, the superintendent comes or call, come get me. If the boys in blue, the police come to the school, come get me. You can interrupt me. If something is wrong with my baby, my daughter, school calls the school, come get me. And the 4th B is my boo. If my boo calls, I was engaged at the time, I was married at the time, but if I'm sorry, I was married at the time, but if my wife called, my boo called, you can come get me. But other than that, do not disturb me. And I stuck with that. This is another piece. Something else at my school, you had to have a book. You had to have a book at all times, with the exception of you going to the restroom. As you can see, this is my 25 book challenge. In my office, I have grade level sets in every classroom. I'm sorry, for every classroom. So students, when they come in my classroom, the first thing they need to do is grab a book. And actually, we start class by them discussing with me the book. And I thought they said boys didn't like to read. Not true. Now, some of the times the kids knew I was serious about reading. So some of the times they'll just grab a book. And one of my little students, I said, hey man, the book is upside down. And he turned it back around. But that was the type of environment that I actually created at the school. It was centered around literacy. Our scores jumped about between 22% and 40% literacy initiatives. And teachers, we're getting to the conclusion of this particular presentation, but your word matters. Your words matter. It's so important. Be careful of what you say to our children. The most powerful muscle in the body is the tongue. Be careful what you say and how you say it to one another, and most importantly, our teachers. This is a list of everything that teachers said to me when I was growing up, from elementary to high school, and I remember it. You see Ms. Cannon's name? She told me to strive for perfection, but she also told me I will not amount to SHIT. She told me that back in 1984, and I did not forget it. And guess what? I'm back home now to turn around our low performing schools. And guess what? Ms. Cannon was in one of my workshops, one of my literacy workshops. And I said, Ms. Cannon, do you remember in 1984 at 1022, you told me that I will not amount to, and I said it loud, profanity. And I said, remember you told me that? And she said, no, sir. And I said, but I do. And I said, I think I did pretty well for myself. She felt about that small, and I didn't do it to demean her, but I just wanted to remind her that kids do not forget the negative things you actually say to them. Every day, before I go into the next poem, as a principal, every day I used to go in my office, I turn my lamp on, I put on some ocean music, some music from the ocean so I can listen to the waves, and I relax. And I write down, and if you pay very, very close attention, you will have a spiritual experience with the child every single day, because God talks to us through them. And this is a poem that a fourth grader wrote me about the troubles that he was having at home outside of school, but he just needed some help, but he didn't want no pity. I didn't get much sleep last night. I heard gunshots. My mom and her friends were up late, and I slept on the floor. But I don't need your pity, Dr. Jackson. I need your help. Now it's time to wake up and get ready for school. We don't have toothpaste, the water's off. I didn't take a bath, and the students will surely pick on me because of my smell. But I don't need your pity. I need your help. I'm hungry. My shoes have holes in them, and my friends laugh at me in the restroom because I had on my sister's underwear. Dr. Jackson, that's all I had. But I don't need your pity. I need your help. I'm in fourth grade. I can't read. I don't know how to solve my math problems, and my teachers is frustrated with me. But I don't want their pity, Dr. Jackson. I need their help. I'm so frustrated with school and life, I cry sometimes. I'm surrounded by drugs, violence, and we're very poor. I even have nightmares in the daytime. I actually wish they would have strangled me when I was born, because now I'm trapped in this storm. Again, I don't need your pity. I need your help. Dr. Jackson, will you help me? This is what a fourth grade student told me. And I just so happened to write it down in a poem format. But our kids need your help. My question to you is, would you help them? And finally, our choices affect their chances. Our choices affect their chances. So choose wisely. Every single choice you make will have a domino effect on that child's life. And please don't be Miss Cannon. If you want to get in contact with me, please follow me on Twitter. This is how Leanne and I met. Facebook. I'm at my 5,000 friend limit. However, you still can follow me on my business page, which is 10 Daily Essentials for Principals. Follow me on Instagram. I have a blog, which I usually write about all the stuff that happened with kids. Check that out. That is very cool. That blog is marcus-jackson.com. Some cool stuff about a lot of the things I'm telling you that happened at the schools that I serve. I wrote blogs about them. Some cool stuff on my website, where you can purchase my book if you're interested. It's on Amazon at www.marcusjackson.com. You can actually see a lot of my videos on there. And this particular book is for principals. Matter of fact, the new one for assistant principals and vice principals will be coming out at the end of December. I'm doing one for teachers in January, and for students and parents will be out in March. And at this time, that actually concludes the session. However, I have a few more minutes. I have about 10 more minutes here at work. So Leanne, if you want to open up a discussion, that's fine. I didn't know what the progression was going to be, but I do have some time if anybody wanted to ask me any questions based off what they saw.
Yes, so we will open the floor for questions, comments. Certainly a lot of food for thought. So lots of things are running through my mind. So
and what stuck out? What was something that stuck out to you? I see Ayana raised her hand. That was cool. She raised her hand.
Ayana, go ahead. If you want to.
Hi, afternoon. Thank you very much for this presentation. I really do appreciate it. I just wanted to find out what's one way you go about getting more people on board to an idea that you have.
And I asked that question. To my teachers. I asked them why everything that I asked you guys to do or initiative I brought to you guys, how do I get buy-in? Buy-in is a term that I don't use. It's a phrase that adults have made up to maintain the status quo and not change. So I asked them that question, and in response, my teachers have actually said to me is number one, the organizational framework is not my idea. It's never my idea. It's our idea. So if I come up, the brainiac I am, if I came up with an idea, this is what I would do as a principal. First, I usually run it by my assistant principal to make sure it's not just too crazy, because I don't operate inside of a box. And I like to break rules too. So I'm a little different. I'm a little radical because our educational system is dysfunctional. So I run it by my assistant principal, and then he'll be like, hey man, that's a good idea, and then I'll take that idea and I'll bring it by my leadership team. I'll bring it to my leadership team. And my leadership team will slice it and dice it. And then my leadership team, which have representatives from each grade level, they bring it out to their grade levels, the 4 first grade teachers. And teachers will always see something from a different set of lenses that you see or you saw, and we'll make some changes. So now whatever idea I had, Ms. James, have been vetted by the assistant principal, the leadership team, and I bought it by the principal. So everybody has some input in it, and they own it now. And most of the time, many of the time, it's usually the idea that I came up with anyway. They've made very little changes, and many times I made drastic changes. So therefore, when I made a mistake or with a bad idea, and someone comes up with something better, I implement it. And when they see that, the culture and climate goes out of the building. And when it's time for buy-in, I don't have problems because everybody is involved in that particular process. And for my teachers on here, try doing that in your classroom. Let your students come up with the rules. Let your students come up with the consequences. Let your students come up with that and watch the difference in that classroom. in regards to accountability. They'll start holding each other accountability. But we've been brainwashed to tell them to do everything. Rules without relationships equals rebellion. So imagine if you did that in your classroom. Hopefully I was able to answer your question.
Yes, thank you very much.
What is your position, Ms. James?
Well, I'm usually head of department, but I'm acting vice principal for now.
Okay, got you. Any other questions? Alvin, Anthony, you the brothers, you the only brothers on here, man. We dominated by women, man. You gotta represent for the fellas, man. Somebody say something.
I have a question.
Yes, ma'am.
So how do you start building a positive culture and climate at a school where it's completely broken?
A couple things. I've actually done. I just gave you an example. That organizational framework is key. It is so important that you get everybody involved in all the processes. Put everybody where they can maximize their strength so they can feel a part of the team. In addition to that, a couple things that I've actually implemented at our school. Number one, we had a no complaint policy. You couldn't complain about anything that went on at the school. You couldn't do it to one another. And if you brought a complaint or an issue, you had to have two solutions attached to it. And I think one of the most important things that I've implemented at a school with a bad positive culture is we had to honor the absent. Meaning that you could not talk about anyone or say anything about another person unless that person was present. And that cut down on a lot of little Real Housewives of our elementary school. That cut down on a lot of drama and issues. And he said this or she said this. That cut down on so much of stuff. And I actually created a positive culture at the school. And those were some of the things that we've actually did. And I can go on and on about this forever, Leanne, but check that blog out. A lot of the stuff is there. And in the book, a lot of stuff is actually mentioned in there as well. Specifically, your morning announcement. That sets the tone. Secondly, and I'm gonna give you a little free one from that, which is in the book. I did positive walkthroughs in the morning. After my morning announcement. I went to every classroom and it was certain things that we're actually looking for. Are my teachers here? 5 points. Are most of our students here? 5 points. Are the students ready to learn? 2 points. Are our students paying attention? 4 points. And I got a scoring system. And before we actually really started our day, I'll let the students know, hey, baby, we're off to a great start. You all are winning 60-0 right now. You all are killing it right now. And my teachers did the same thing in their classroom. And man, next thing you know, boom, I do another check-in at lunch. I was like, whoa, check it out. Man, we had 2 fights. Y'all talked to each other about that. Remember, we had our social emotional program in place. We don't handle our conflict that way. We had 2 fights and I got 3 offers referral. We're still up, baby, 60-5. We're still up. We're still winning. Let's finish the day strong. Let's see if we can't have any more incidents. And matter of fact, if you don't have any more incidents, I got something for you guys at the end of the month. Boom, and guess what happened? We may have another incident or 2, but through my positive walkthroughs, we're winning. And if you go to any school, no matter how challenging the school is, if you focus on the positive things in that school, you will see that they outweigh the negative thing. It's not even close. And at the end of every day, I announce the scores. 60-12, 60-10. We won, baby. We won the day. So everybody goes home smiling and they know we won. I say, you know what? Tomorrow is going to be a lot harder. And see, I take points off. So now you're only going to get 1 point. Uh-oh, we only got 10 today. We only got 10. We had 12 incidents yesterday, but we only got 10 points today for our positive walkthrough because I changed the scoring up. Now the kids mad at me from changing the scoring up. The teachers want to know what's going on. I'm pushing you to do what you're supposed to do all the time, but you have to make that fun. And that works at the elementary level, the middle school level, and the high school level. But as our kids get older, we think, or we have a preconceived notion that they don't, and they're big babies too. They just big babies too. Any other questions? I can talk about this stuff for hours and hours, Miss Leanne. Miss Vicky has her hand raised, and you
Go
can
ahead,
just jump
Vicky.
on. You can just unmute.
Hi. Are you hearing me? I was having a little trouble connecting this evening.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so would you agree, because I'm listening to you talk, would you
Hold on one
agree?
second. Miss Nayan, I have something for that. I want to share something with you. Ask that question next that you put in the chat box, and we'll discuss that next. I'm going to give you a powerful tool for that. Go ahead, Vicky.
All right. Would you agree, therefore, that in order for a positive environment and so forth to be cultivated at a school, that the administration, the principal, etc., because in our case, we would have a principal, a VP, we would have deans, etc., that it is so important for them to be visible to the students, like how you went into the classrooms, how you interacted with your children. Would you say, therefore, that it is so critical for the leader of the school, the leaders in the school, to be visible to the students, and for the students to have a type of relationship with them? And sometimes when that is not there, would you agree that that can lead to a breakdown of the culture?
Yes, ma'am. And there's no way to do it without that particular principle. All this good stuff that I'm actually telling you, that has to be in place from the principal. And I've seen some mean principals. I've seen some dictators that think because they are in this little position that they have arrived and they can tell everybody what to do. But I'm gonna be honest with you, if you're in a tough area and you're not operating in the capacity that I'm operating, that you just saw, it's hard. You're gonna have to be visible, as Miss Vicky actually stated. You're gonna have to be visible, and you're gonna have to be that positive person. And as you can already tell, I'm bouncing off the walls right now. And guess what? My principals are doing the same. And guess what my principals are doing? They're bringing this same energy, excitement, and enthusiasm back to their school. And see, right now, I'm over 14 schools. I know every single child at the school. I know every single teacher at the school. I know who got divorced. I know who lost their home. And I know every single principal. What's going on at every one of those schools. Now, because I'm always at the school, although I work at the district office. I don't like hanging around down here with all these politics. I like to hang out in the valley. So who do you think get excited when I come to their school? Principal, the teachers, and the students. I went to a school yesterday, and we were on there for 2 minutes. The Department of Education came in to observe what we were doing. And we were on, this particular representative from the Department of Education only wanted us to be in there for 10 minutes. So we did 10 minutes and we left. Now the students know that I'm usually in there about 20 minutes. So I left, and after we debriefed, I went back and congratulated the teachers and the students for allowing me to watch the teacher teach and watch the students learn. And one little girl raised her hand and she said, "Dude, you left too early." I didn't get a chance to show off. She did a little finger like she didn't get a chance to show off. I wanted to show you what I was doing and the learning, but you left too early. Next time, stay longer. And I'm like, wow. Now I work at the district office, and this little girl has this energy, this excitement and enthusiasm, but that principal created, and I had to give it to those principals. So you're right. It cannot be done without the principal. It cannot be. It cannot happen. And who had that question that they typed in the chat box? Are they still on?
Hi, good afternoon. Nian.
Yes.
Yes, I typed the question. Based on what you were saying earlier, talking about that love that everybody must have, principals for the teachers, teachers for the students, teachers for their jobs as well. For me, what I've realized during this time, that I think a lot of people lost that love. And for me personally, sometimes I feel like my concerns as a teacher is not really being addressed, or like I can't have an opinion about something and there's no kind of empathy. And personally, sometimes mentally, it's really hard to deal with and accept knowing that you go out and you give 200% every day to your students and to the school and to everybody, so, and also to be able to share that concern with someone and, have a conversation, not feel like I'm speaking against you and that you need to be defensive about your actions or anything, but just a safe space to share, you know.
And Neon, did I pronounce your name correctly?
Neon.
Neon,
Like,
are you a teacher?
yes, I am.
Yes, and it's so unfortunate. We do our teachers so wrong. We do our teachers so wrong. We beat them up. They have the entire world on their back. And as she actually stated, I hate for teachers to feel that way. And Nan, I can probably tell you would have loved to work at a school like mine who values your opinion. And principals and my vice principals who are actually on here, listen to this teacher, because she's actually speaking some truth. And the question that was actually in the box, in the chat box, was how do she convey her feelings in a safe place? One of the things that I did, and I got this idea from my 4th grade teacher. Remember I talked to you about that second step program for social emotional needs for our students? But who's taking care of the social emotional needs for the teachers? So what I actually did on my end was I saw an activity that they were doing in one of the classrooms where I saw two boys that were about to fight. I was in a gang-infested community, and one was a Blood and one was a Crip, and these two 10-year-old boys were about to fight. And the little girl walked up to him and said, "We do not resolve our conflict in this manner. When you go back to the classroom, you need to put those feelings in the feelings jar." And the boys stopped. They was like, okay. That blew my mind. Remember, I'm in a crime, poverty-stricken area with gangs everywhere. And these are two of my heavy hitters. So I followed them back to the classroom. The boys simply wrote their note. And Miss Nail, you can take this back to the class. They simply wrote their feelings on that particular note, and they went in and they put it inside of a jar in that particular classroom. And I was like, so what do you do once you put it in a jar? And one of the little boys told me, it was like, tomorrow morning, we're going to start off our day and we're going to discuss our feelings. So I went back the next day. The teacher had a lamp lit. She had a couple candles lit, and the students were sitting around in a circle. And the two little boys pulled out their feelings and they discussed their feelings. One of the little boys said, hey, he said something about my mother and my mom. She's in the hospital. She's sick. She has diabetes and she was on a respirator. And I just got upset because my mom is going through so much. Then all the other kids in the circle said, Eric, what are you going to do about that? Eric said, I apologize. Please forgive me for such and such and such. You can tell it was scripted out. And then the student said, well, what does that mean to you, Mike? And Mike said, I accept your apology. Then the other kid had an opportunity to say, and I took that idea and I started doing that for my teachers. I had a feelings jar. Tell me how you feel. Tell me what's going on. And I do that with my teachers to stay in tune. Remember the affective domain. You have to operate from that perspective, principles. You have to. Any other questions? Going once, going twice. Miss Leanne, thank you for having me.
And thank you very much. I think a lot of people have thoughts mulling around in their minds now. So, I mean, certainly for me, a lot of reflection. And I'm definitely, well, I mean, I've been following you, so I'll be continuing to follow you and looking out for all those wonderful gems that you continue to share. And I really want to thank you very much for coming and sharing with us. I think everybody would have left with those, at least 3 things that you told us.
You got your 3 big rocks. And be sure, reach out to me, have it, Leanne. I think I didn't share my screen. Let me stick that up there again. And I'm dead serious. Reach out there to me, and don't laugh at my pictures. That was in style in the 70s. That was out. That was out, man. That shirt, you couldn't tell me nothing. But as you can tell, I evolved a little bit. But reach out to me. Please don't hesitate. Several times throughout the day, even throughout the night, I'll be hit with somebody in my inbox just simply asking me a question. How do I handle this situation? I'm having a problem with my principal, and I'm always available. So shoot me a text message. I live and breathe this stuff that I'm actually discussing. Okay.
So lots
You're
of
welcome.
comments. I will definitely send you a post. I will make one with all the comments that are being posted here, and I will
Okay.
send it to you.
All right. You all enjoy the rest of your afternoon, and be safe. Wear your mask. Wear your mask.
Okay,
It's bad out
bye.
here. It's bad out here. Y'all have a good one. Bye.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Bye, everybody, and thank you very much. Please share all those gems.